Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Outdoor and Door Texan. Today I'm going to show you all my recipe for braided and smoked pork loin. Now this is a killer presentation for a low cost and lesser loved piece of pork, but beyond the pretty plating, braiding your pork loin actually gives more surface area for both your seasoning and smoke to stick to. So not only will it look good, it'll taste good to boot. Starting out, you'll obviously need a pork loin. I'm working with a 4-pound cut, but really any size works fine. I'm just trying to feed a ton of people on this particular cook. Getting right to it, we're going to first cut this loin into thirds, but make sure not to completely separate the pieces. Instead, leave a little connected bit at the end so it's easier to manage when you're braiding it. Another popular method you're welcome to try is cutting this piece of meat completely in half, then cutting those two halves into the thirds we're talking about here. I personally like the big braid, but if you want something smaller and more manageable, it really won't change the recipe if you go that route. Once we're done making our initial cuts, slather on your binder of choice. I'm using olive oil here, but you can also try mustard, vegetable oil, mayonnaise, even hot sauce. Play around with it. And of course, after the binder, grab your go-to barbecue seasoning and go to town. I'm using Musket Powder Gold Label, which is the sweet heat chipotle honey type mixture that works really well with pork. But hey, you do you. Use whatever you love. Now it's time to start braiding. If you're new to the concept, there's always Google. It's pretty simple though. Just lay one strand over the other and keep on repeating that until you get to the end. But if you're a first timer, take your time and make sure everything is as tight as possible. There's no shame in doing a couple do-overs. Once you're happy with your braid, use a handful of toothpicks and pin those loose tail ends together so they're well secured for the cook. We now have a braided and seasoned pork loin, so let's head outside and give it some smoke. I'll be working with my Pit Boss vertical smoker for this particular cook, but any smoker setup for indirect cooking at 250 degrees Fahrenheit will work just fine. Toss it on a wire rack for easy on and off, and let it roll until the internal temperature of the meat hits 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, make sure to place a water pan between the heat source and your pork. And if you know your smoker has a habit of drying things out, a spritz or two of apple cider vinegar along the way always helps. For this particular cook, the loin hit 145 degrees internal right at the 2-hour mark. Will you look at that? Like I said at the beginning, the braid really turns a boring lump of pork into a showstopper. It'll turn heads at parties and elevate this humble $10 cut of meat into something seemingly far fancier. And it tastes way better. Speaking of, tasting this batch, the braid really does help a great deal with flavor. Beyond being a delicious, tender, juicy bit of pork, there's more seasoning and more smoke in each bite. Definitely give this a shot next time you have a pork loin in the freezer, and I guarantee you everyone will be happy that you did. That'll do it for this one, and thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions or tips of your own to add, please feel free to leave a comment below. I always try to make myself available to my viewers, and I'll be happy to tackle whatever comments pop up. Now, if you're new to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it if you consider hitting that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, it certainly helps keep me going, and you'll have access to countless recipes with more great content to come. All right, y'all, take care.